Tonight, on a special edition of Evening, who says museums are boring?
This is crazy.
We're taking you on a tour through some of the off-the-path places that are small in size, but big on fun. From local history to locations that will shock you. Let Evening be your guide to some of Western Washington's quirkiest mini museums.
Hey, I'm Jim Dever. You know, there are more than 100 museums across our state. Many of them you've heard of: Seattle Art Museum, Museum of Flight, Mohi, but we are also home to some smaller and quirkier places that you just have to visit, starting with this one, the Seattle Pinball Museum. The museum opened 15 years ago. They have more than 50 historic games that are not only on display, but you can play all of them too. One of the new things they have are these QR codes on some games that you can scan that pulls up the history behind the game that you're playing. You can play all the games for yourself once you pay the modest entry fee. All those machines are free to play. But one of my favorite new museums just opened last year, and it proves you can't always believe what you see. You won't believe your eyes at the Museum of Illusions, and that's kind of the whole point.
It's all about challenging your senses of reality.
CEO Kim Schaefer says Seattle is the 50th location around the world for this mind-bending experience, with 9,000 square feet of Insta-worthy exhibits.
You get to create the opportunity to be part of the illusion. And so we love the idea that people are incredibly creative when they come here.
Oh my goodness.
You can interact with off-kilter creations, from a vortex tunnel
This is crazy.
to a human head-sized kaleidoscope. You'll also find some local flavor.
There's something unique just for here.
Climb to the top of a very scary Seattle building without leaving the comfort and safety of the floor. Or enjoy the ultimate monorail flip-flop photo op. The exhibits come with descriptions to explain the science behind each phenomenon, so you can learn while you laugh at Seattle's newest, weirdest museum.
Play and experience and educate yourself on your own terms. And so that sense of discovery is what Museum of Illusions is really all about.
Man, that place is so much fun. The Museum of Illusions is open 7 days a week. Our next spot is really something to write home about. It's a store/museum in Bremerton that will have you a little nostalgic for the slowpoke keystroke. Here's Saint.
It's a fever, yeah, it's a disease, believe me.
You could say Don Feldman is the Tom Hanks of Bremerton. Not because of his charm or acting ability, but because, like the Oscar-winning actor, Don collects typewriters.
It definitely is a fever.
A fever Don caught years ago at a local thrift shop where he spotted a 1930s Woodstock.
So I purchased it for $35, thought I found a rare find, was going to turn it around on eBay, and there were millions of them.
That might have discouraged most people. Not Don.
He's had typewriter fever from the beginning.
I was hooked, and then started to hunt.
A treasure hunt that has led this retired ferry engineer to collect hundreds of these machines.
It's like collecting cars, right? They're all beautiful and they're all different. And that's how people get typewriter fever. No kidding.
Some of Don's typewriters are more than 100 years old. Some don't even look like typewriters.
And the ones that are very collectible are the abysmal failures because they weren't on the market too long. So those are the ones that collectors are looking for.
Don's collection began growing just as interest in typewriters began growing.
I probably have 250 plus typewriters in my collection, and I would say that 90% of them are in perfect working order.
In 2017, a documentary celebrating typewriters and their obsessed owners was released to rave reviews. Like vinyl, typewriters are making a comeback, and prices are surging.
A few years ago, you could buy a nice Olympia typewriter for $10, $15 from Goodwill. It's the same machine as I sell for $500, $600 here in the store, and people don't bat an eye.
Typewriter fever is full of treasures, but Don's favorite might be a letter he got from a fellow collector.
I get through the first sentence and I look up and there's Tom Hanks's name up on the top and I start screaming and I go, oh my God, oh my God.
I thought somebody had passed away, and she goes, it's him, it's him.
Typewritten proof that some fevers can be contagious.
Typewriter Fever in Bremerton is open from 11 to 4, Thursday through Saturday. And every year during the holidays, they give the kids a chance to type out a letter to Santa in their QWERTY cafe. Well, a recent study says that 95% of you will have a snack sometime in the next 24 hours. I'll get mine out of the way right now. There's a guy in Everett who takes snacks so seriously that he opened a museum to share his passion with the public.
Got some Starburst gummies in here.
Photographer Jackson McInnes has a sweet tooth.
I think I got some Twix over here too.
And his mission is to share it with the world.
The obsession.
Jackson is the founder and curator of the Snackin' Shack.
Good luck finding another one of these.
From key lime Kit Kats to gingerbread red vines, it's a collection of hundreds and hundreds of limited edition treats and marketing materials.
I love to have people check it out. That's really what it's here for in the long run. You got some cotton candy Faygo.
They're not all winners.
This is very nasty. You know, anything edible that I see at the store that's limited edition, I'm going for it. I'm grabbing it.
Most of the packages in his mini museum have never been opened.
If it's limited edition, I'm getting it. Am I gonna try it? Probably not.
They're all his sweet children, but he does have his favorites.
Only collab Nike's done with like a cereal brand.
He loves Fruity Pebbles so much he wears them on his back. And he hopes you'll find whatever you love here too.
Anyone is welcome.
So if you have an affection for snacks as much as Jackson McInnes does, stop dragging and roll up to a monster mashup of whatever you crave.
Snacks are forever. Everybody eats snacks. That's gonna last forever for me, for sure. And I'll never stop collecting snacks.
If you'd like to visit Jackson's Snackin' Shack in Everett, it is open Saturday and Sunday.
Still ahead, why people are paying to be struck by lightning in Bellingham. But when we return, the Skagit County Museum, celebrating the Northwest's favorite mythical creature.
Hey, this is Saint. Want to go to a museum where the devil is the detail? At the Devilish Little Things Museum in Vancouver, you'll find a vast collection of mostly European-made figurines. Here, the devil isn't so much a scary figure as a deceitful one to make fun of. Some of the pieces in the collection date back more than a century. If you want to check it out, you need to book an appointment in advance. Tours start at $12 per person for a minimum of 2 people.
Welcome back. We are at the Seattle Pinball Museum in Seattle's Chinatown International District as we continue to tour some of our state's smaller and quirkier museums. Now, if you love fire trucks as a kid, there is a place not too far from here, a museum that may rekindle your desires.
This might be the coolest free museum you've never heard of.
My name is Galen Thomair, and I'm the curator of the Last Resort Fire Department Museum at Seattle Fire Department headquarters.
Galen, a retired firefighter, is the second generation to care for this collection of antique firefighting vehicles. The odd name, Last Resort, was coined by his dad, who was also a firefighter and the museum's co-founder.
My dad just jokingly would say They're all fully functional. As a matter of fact, as a last resort, if all else fails, call us. As time went on, that name kind of stuck with us.
When it comes to antique fire apparatus, don't you dare call them fire trucks. There is not a fact that Galen doesn't know. Inside
I'm the only one who knows how to drive this thing.
And out.
There's probably over 100 different shades of red, and every department chooses their own. This is actually Dulux 93002H Cardinal Red, if you really want to know. If my dad and I hadn't saved some of these many, many years ago, they would have been cut up for scrap.
Saved from the scrap pile, this hand-drawn hand pumper from the mid-1800s, before firefighters used horses to pull their rigs.
And this predates the Great Seattle Fire.
This horse-drawn 1899 fire wagon with original gold leaf.
It's a work of art, it really is.
And Seattle's first modern truck with an aerial ladder, delivered in 1937.
It's sitting in the spot where it served its entire life in the Seattle Fire Department, right here.
The museum is free, but donations are appreciated to help make sure the last resort fire department does last. And this man, who was born with smoke in his blood, is happy to spend his retirement sharing everything he knows. And that's a lot with anyone who's interested.
The word I would use is passion. It's been a lifelong passion. Some might call it a sickness. But I consider it a passion.
Oh! The Last Resort Fire Department Museum is in Pioneer Square. It's open on Thursdays. Our next museum is up in Skagit County. It's a place that pays deep reverence to the Northwest's most beloved mythical creature.
Here in the Skagit Valley, there's something big afoot.
Yeah, this is very bizarre.
A place filled with cryptic cryptids.
Man, every piece in here has its own story.
Built by a man who loves a mystery.
There are many theories on Sasquatch. I lean real heavily towards feral or wild human beings myself.
A decade ago, Michael Vale was looking for a suitable retirement plan.
And I didn't want a conventional job, so it's like, I'm just gonna have a Bigfoot museum.
The electric sign maker thought he'd take advantage of all the traffic zipping by his home on the North Cascade Highway.
There's thousands of cars every day that drive by here. They like to come in and feed on the knowledge of Skagit Squatch. It's free. And it's family friendly.
The chainsaw carver has filled his museum with hundreds of pieces of Bigfoot-inspired art and artifacts.
A face totem that I carved. You can look in any direction and just your mind can just wander. My museum is majority art, an art museum, because there is a huge lack of evidence when it comes to Sasquatch and Bigfoot.
But he has gotten his hands on a very impressive foot.
This is a Bigfoot print from out on the Olympic Peninsula.
He once had a brief meetup with the big guy himself.
Well, this is real similar to my Sasquatch encounter.
This museum, like its founder, has a sense of humor.
Looks like someone's getting ready to have Bigfoot for dinner.
Yeah.
Mike's wife, Peggy, provides some impressive artwork of her own.
This is one of my wife's paintings that I love.
And she helps her hairy husband follow his passion.
Go get him, dude.
A roadside stop where you're guaranteed to spot Bigfoot. And even bigger smiles.
It's so fun.
If you'd like to visit the Skagit Squatch Museum, it is free and open by appointment.
After the break,
they can get into our cage of doom and get zapped with 4.5 million volts.
The Bellingham Museum that will light up your life.
Hola friends, Jose here, with a place that honors America's first seafaring armed service. Coast Guard Museum Northwest, located in the shores of Soto, tells the stories of ships and their crews, missions of peacetime and war. The museum houses nearly 20,000 photos, 5,000 books, and more than a dozen large-scale models. The oldest artifact here dates back to 1789. It's a piece of the HMS Bounty's wooden rudder, which later passed through the hands of famed explorer Amidal Byrd. The museum is free and open to the public on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
As we continue our tour of some of our state's smaller and more offbeat museums, let's head on up to Whatcom County, where they have something on display that will shock you. Drop my phone.
Meet the Jimi Hendrix of early electrical artifacts, John Jenkins, president of Bellingham's Spark Museum, a place that casts a bright light on the history of electricity.
It's really about the experience more than it is the artifacts.
The spark in the name comes from the many hands-on exhibits that will ignite curiosity. Some are hair-raising. Some are plain entertaining. When was the last time you got to play a theremin? Jenkins is an electrical engineer who builds his own exhibits. What began as a hobby has become Bellingham's biggest tourist attraction.
It's probably the largest display of early electrical apparatus in the world.
Jenkins has Thomas Edison's first successful light bulb, one of only 3 remaining, and cable from Edison's first power plant, found during the excavation after the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center.
And what this young lady is about to do is nothing short of death-defying.
They can get into our cage of doom and get zapped with 4.5 million volts.
It's actually one of the biggest Tesla coils in the country. It makes a lightning bolt that strikes this metal cage, which protects whoever's inside. Jenkins engineered and tested this himself.
I knew that it was safe, but still, when you're sitting, 6 feet from a source that's going to produce about 5 million volts and send a 14-foot arc, in your direction, it's a little scary.
Today, people reserve spots in advance to feel this fire. Don't miss this place where Franklin meets Frankenstein. We guarantee the sparks will fly.
The Spark Museum in Bellingham is open Wednesday through Sunday, and I bet that Mega Zapper comes in handy during mosquito season.
When we come back,
they respond to your attention.
The Federal Way Museum, where all the exhibits are alive.
Hey, welcome back to Evening. Most museums don't feature living organisms, but there is one in Federal Way where they're not just living, they're growing.
They respond to your attention,
Aaron Packard, the curator of the Pacific Bonsai Museum, began practicing this ancient art form in his teenage years.
And then it turned into a hobby, which turned into a passion, which turned into a career.
Now this just might blow your mind. That 2-foot tree he's working his bonsai magic on is a coastal redwood, the largest tree species in the world.
So if we put this in the ground and walked away from it, it has the genetic potential to grow into its full-sized, 300-foot tall height.
More than 35,000 visitors a year come to this museum to see how horticulture and art transform trees from all over the world into miniature versions of themselves.
A lot of people think that bonsai is a type of tree, like a species, but in actuality, it's just the art of cultivating any tree. What we're doing now is maintaining the size of this tree through pruning, because this tree doesn't know that it's a bonsai.
There's more to it than pruning. You see those wires?
Much like braces on your teeth, they position and hold that branch in place to create a specific design.
It takes a lot of attention to get it just right. At the Pacific Bonsai Museum, you go small, or you don't go at all. I think you're going to want to go.
Okay, the Pacific Bonsai Museum is open 10 to 4 every day except Monday. A big thank you to Seattle Pinball Museum. Thank you, one guy. If you want more information about anything you saw on tonight's show, just go on over to king5evening.com. Now, I have a game to win. We'll see you next time. Come on!